So I'm normally up at 6, and one of my favourite things is I've got an old-fashioned mocha pot, so I make myself a nice strong cup of coffee in the morning. That goes on the stove and I've got 5 minutes while it's warming through, and that's normally how I start trying to organise my day. Then the kids get up and the chaos ensues, packed lunches, getting everybody out of the door on time. Fortunately I leave first, which makes it a bit easier for me. When I get into the office, for me, I'm normally look at what I've got on my day, normally look at what meetings we've got, what the project's on, etc. Obviously, depending on what kind of meetings I've got on during the day, might be spending time with a client. One of the things I love doing is mood boards, for example, you know, so as a designer you're pulling many different things from many places, but the mood board is quite a nice way to work out if something is going to work visually, for example. So that's one of my favourite things. But the reason I joined ACS was I've been with some of the best furniture and interior businesses in the industry, but when I felt like I needed a change, and what ACS was offering was those kind of real blended results. So I can tell you that there really is not many businesses that can provide an interior, can provide some furniture, but also provide all of the supporting requirements around that. So your IT, your Wi-Fi, the security, and all those other things. So there really isn't many people that can provide that blended solution. I really saw that as an answer. So to be able to talk to a client about this is the furniture, this is the space, this is how it should work, but also this is the IT that supports it and makes that work, just felt like a really, really future-proof way to go, actually. So for me, working during lockdown, actually, one of the really great things was I'd not long started at ACS, and when that kind of process ensued, it was really interesting to see an IT business answer that question. So guys literally picked up everything that was on the desk and just went home. Because we're Microsoft Teams based, we were straight on the video calls. We use a telephone system called 8x8 as well, so that basically meant guys were straight on the telephone, could pass it through to everybody, and I have to say it was almost seamless for us. So lucky in that sense, but that certainly worked. And then of course the interesting thing is I ended up working underneath my son's bunk bed on his tiny little desk. That's the only little space that was available to me in my house. But actually, that's kind of worked through. I much prefer to be back in the office though, so certainly for some of the time, yeah. Well, I mean, remote working is part of what people that are involved in the workplace have been talking about for a long time. So actually, what we have done in the last year or so is actually just jumped over it. We've got past it. Whatever problem there was, or whatever issue there was, issues with trust, or whatever that might have been, we've just kind of gone over that hurdle. And I think that really is going to change the future of how we work, how many days we go to the office, how many days we work from home. In fact, much of the work that we've done over the last few weeks, as people are coming back to the office, has been around how do I structure this office to fulfil the requirements now needed? How do I get people back into the office or make them want to come to the office? I had only joined ACS 5 weeks before lockdown. I'd actually gone to a commute which was 1 hour and 40 each way. My commute into Northampton was only around 50 minutes. And then 5 weeks after making that big jump, we were down to 0. So I certainly don't miss the commute. So that's been interesting, and it ended up almost, getting kind of 3 hours back a day, which was just huge. managed to fill that all up with work, obviously. So I certainly haven't missed the commute, but I'm really want to get back to the office. The social aspects of it for me are really key. I feel you can solve problems quickly and effectively, much better when you're with people, if I'm honest with you. I think throughout that whole process, it's clear to me, you know, through Teams, through the video calls, for example, you certainly can fulfill that brief. But as a designer, I think listens to and hangs on everybody's word about what they want to do, about how they want things to work. The body language actually becomes quite important, and that real being able to build a rapport. Actually, the start of lockdown, what we did is, as a service to many of our existing clients, what we did is we worked out what a COVID secure plan might look like. And we sent that, so that wasn't a brief, we didn't ask anybody if they wanted that. That was just something to some key clients that we felt might help them through the next few months as they discussed and worked out what they did and didn't want to do. After that, there was a huge upswell in terms of marketing as everything went social. You know, I think everybody will be aware that, you know, the LinkedIn world went crazy and those kind of things, so we were busy with that. From a design perspective, we were lucky in that we won a large project with Reed, who are actually quite close to us in Northampton. They've been brilliant to work with as well, and actually real interesting strategy with them. They certainly want to get back to the office, and as a business that finds people for other businesses, that's quite interesting in itself. So we've managed to work through some problems that were obviously created during that time, but I felt we delivered well. And then recently we've won a great job with a company called CB Tax. And these guys are, you know, doing well and really want a fantastic office space. They really want their staff to come and work in their office. So they're really putting a huge effort and energy into making somewhere that is really super slick and cool. And I can't wait to see the end results on that, and it's going to be a beautiful office. So again, that's been interesting. I think people have worked from home, and I think most people have kind of felt there is going to be an end to this at some point. We wondered if there would be a huge upswell in purchasing for office furniture for the home. We've not massively seen that here. I think people were making do with the kitchen table or whatever scenario was there. I think the interesting flow through from that will be, as we return, and we don't return to a full 5-day week, people working from home 1, 2, 3, 4 days a week or whatever that might be, I think actually the requirement for home furniture might really build from that perspective. So there's that, and then the opposite side of that is you know, people wanting to bring staff back to the office, and how are they going to do that? You know, how are they going to achieve that? I think what we've done is we've proven we can all work from home. Some businesses have done really well working from home. So how that office evolves, how that requirement evolves is actually what I've been talking about most over the last week or two. Well, Mocha Pot gets me up and awake in the morning. Watch gives me something lovely to look and love, look at and love. And my wife and kids make me happy.